Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and I'm back with another 40K video from Warhammer. So, the topic for today's video is top 5 creepy unsolved mysteries. And I'm sure in the world of 40K, there are a lot of mysteries. I've only seen one 40K mysteries video from him. I believe it was top 5 greatest mysteries. And I gotta say, my favorite mystery so far is obviously who are / what happened to the lost Primarchs. And the other one is what is in, was it the dark cells, the black cells under Holy Terra? I know there's like creatures and demons, and I think like the biggest Nurgle demon or something like that. I know there's artifacts and stuff like that. What is it? Subject 11 or test subject 11 or something like that. You know, some people think it could be one of the lost Primarchs or something like that. You know, who knows what else is really down there? Like, what are those artifacts? What do they do? You know, who knows what else is down there? So far, those are my top 2 favorite mysteries so far. I gotta find more mysteries videos. I know we have this one here. But yeah, I mean, in the world of 40K, there's probably a lot of them. Alright, so anyways, let's just jump right in and take a look at the top 5 creepiest unsolved mysteries. Here we go.
By the end of this video, you're going to know everything you need to know about 5 of 40K's creepiest and most obscure mysteries. And this is a franchise that is absolutely chock full of super strange things that have gone unexplained for years or sometimes even decades at a time. We're going to talk about things like an entire hive world's population that suddenly and mysteriously vanished overnight, and left behind some incredibly bizarre and unexplainable evidence to what had happened. A terrifying black star that shows up out of nowhere, and everyone who sees it turns into a fanatical raving cultist. And some super creepy ancient alien devices that grant their wielder immortality, but eternal life comes at a terrifying price. Ooh. We're going to be talking about all that and a whole lot more, but before we dive headfirst into the grimdark,
cue the Unsolved Mysteries theme song.
So it's sponsor time, but what do you think it's going to be? I'm sure you've seen a million of these segments on YouTube before. Do you think it's going to be a VPN service? Some type of food delivery? Some kind of health supplement? If you said yes to any of those, my friend, I regret to inform you that you are in fact incorrect. It's your boy, Raid Shadow Legends.
Raid Shadow Legends has taken the mobile gaming world by storm with its super in-depth RPG battle system, amazing graphics, intense PvE boss battles, and
not gonna lie, I actually kind of want to try this game.
No matter how many new characters get added to the game, nobody forgets their first champion, and for me, that was my man Gallic. He's an absolute powerhouse who carried me through a lot of really tough fights, including
the game does look kind of interesting.
Not to mention helping me absolutely wreck a lot of dungeons. I've unlocked a ton of champions over the last year, but I'll never forget my battles with this guy. And if you didn't know, it's actually Raid's 4th anniversary, and there's a ton to get excited about. I'm talking dedicated offers.
But yeah, so far from the sounds of some of these mysteries, they do sound pretty interesting. A city that vanishes overnight feels like it's heavily Atlantis vibe, you know? Yeah, I'm kind of curious about some of the other ones. What is it, Black Hole, and people looking into it, become a crazy cultist? That's kind of insane.
Use my link in the description, or scan my QR code here on the screen to get some insane bonuses. We're talking an epic champion, Kellen the Shrike, and other useful things like energy refills, magic potions, and XP brews. And since it's Raid's birthday, the gifts keep on coming. Brand new and existing players can get a bunch of free birthday gifts. Once you're in game and after clicking on the links, just enter promo code 4YearsRaid to get your hands on 4 legendary skill tomes, plus some other super useful stuff. It'll all be waiting for you right here. Big thanks to Raid for sponsoring this video. Number 5. Comus, the Tyrant Star. Warhammer 40K is no stranger to prophecies. Now, whether they be chaotic, Xenos, or even human in nature, there are tons of examples of ancient prophecies that foretell a great far-off apocalypse. One lesser known of these prophecies speaks of the engulfing darkness that will ultimately devour all of human civilization. It's
Oh,
detailed
wow.
in a manuscript the Inquisition refers to as the Prophetica Hereticus Tenebrae. This event is said to be
That's
heralded
a
by
mouthful.
all manner of signs that will gradually transmute human minds and make them ready to embrace eternal darkness. The origin of the prophecy is currently a mystery to us as the audience, as it is said to be held within the Bastion Serpendus archives, and none but Lord Inquisitor Zerbe are permitted to study it. The Inquisition has a lot of different theories.
Sounds
on
like it's trapped inside of the archives of the Vatican, where no one can go down there and look at the archives and what's down there. Another mystery, what is in the archives at the Vatican? Like only like one or two people can actually go down there. That's kind of like what they were playing off of.
nature of this prophecy, some claiming that it is clearly chaotic in nature, whereas others point out that the word devour shows up pretty often in the text. We don't know what species penned this prophecy, but if it was the Eldar, then the word devour is used by them pretty frequently in reference to the Tyranids. Comus itself is said to be either a black sun or a halo of black flame, a herald of the encroaching darkness, represented in the text itself by, as of this moment, an unknown rune that bears a striking resemblance to the clawed foot of a bird. The symbol has never been seen in any other text, so we don't really know its origins. On one hand, we might be able to write this off as a spooky prophecy from some unknown ancient xeno species that all but certainly has gone extinct. But not so fast, as the Calexis sector has been plagued by a bizarre, reoccurring phenomena over the last century.
Really?
A monstrous black sun, matching the descriptions in the text, suddenly and mysteriously appearing out of nowhere in various locations throughout the sector. No two appearances have
Nibiru.
ever been quite the same, but there are definitely discernible patterns that link them all together. In most cases, a ghostly star emanating black flames and esoteric unknown radiations spontaneously materializes within a planetary system. The thing shines malevolently for a few days and then mysteriously vanishes without a trace. Sometimes the black star appears alongside a planet's normal one, and sometimes it eclipses it entirely. The phenomena has been documented at...
So it just comes and goes. That's interesting. I wonder if it's like some sort of like alien tech? Maybe like some unknown race? I mean, it just seems strange that it'd be there and then gone, It's kind of
at least
weird.
18 times, but it's believed to have occurred far more than that. Sometimes the sun showing up in far more subtle ways, like in the reflection of a wine glass, or only visible at night as a dark spot that's blacker than the night sky itself. The Tyrantine cabal of the Inquisition firmly believes that the spectral sun phenomena is, without a doubt, the tyrant star Comos mentioned in the prophecy, as it very closely matches its description. However, there are some competing theories on what this thing actually is. Some
Okay.
say that it is a ghostly image of a stellar body within the immaterium trying to shine through the fabric of real space. In a similar vein, some say the star is within the warp itself and is partially translating into the physical universe, as if it is trying to find a way through. There are others still, even within the Inquisition, that claim that it is a Xenos artificial construct, a weapon of unknown origins that is incomprehensible to mankind.
An
Whatever
unknown
its
race.
origins, every single time the star appears, its visitation has caused public unrest and geological instability. For months before it shows up, a planet will experience unnatural earthquakes and volcanic upsurges. The social fabric of the world will begin to deteriorate as a psychic madness infects the planet's population.
Okay, so it's kind of like, what do they say? Like if the moon, our moon, was actually like closer, like different things would happen. Like they'd be like more tidal waves or something like that. And if the moon was a little bit further back, different things would happen. The moon has to stay right where it is to keep things normal. Any adjustment further away or too close, our planet's screwed. That's kind of what it sounds like
There will
with
be
this.
uncontrolled rioting, looting, and uprisings of dozens, if not hundreds, of distinct fanatical cults. Multitudes more psychers will either be born or become active during this time, and mutation will run rampant throughout society. The signs of the star's coming will be widespread, taking the form of bizarre yet identical birthmarks appearing on newborns, and odd runic symbols appearing on walls without explanation. The population will begin to see the sun itself in their nightmares, and will even be haunted by unexplained visions of the sun's reflection in mirrors, pools, and puddles. If the Inquisition is to be believed, then after the sun disappears, many of these worlds will eventually return to business as normal, the strange celestial phenomenon bearing no connection to any of the events the planet had to endure. However, the Inquisition seems
Some sort of
determined
like
to track
chaotic
each one of these
alien race?
visitations, and has worked tirelessly to carefully suppress any official confirmation of the sun's existence. Only time will tell if the Tyrant star really is the herald of humanity's downfall, or just another instance of unexplained phenomena. Number 4. The Howling. Throughout 40K's extensive lore, we find little snippets here and there that show us just how horrifying the galaxy really is. There are creatures that lurk in the dark places between stars that are not only ludicrously powerful, but also horrifically malevolent in their intent.
Yeah, I heard that, like,
The truly
Way Out
baffling
or
thing
something
to me
like that.
As a 40K fan, is that many of these documented sightings of such terrifying entities often equate to little more than a footnote in the Imperium's history, an obscure piece of lore that is given little to no attention. One such instance was known as the Howling, where an alien cyborg psyker of unknown origin, known only as the Cacodominus, demonstrated ludicrously powerful and manipulative psychic abilities. It was able to exert complete and utter control over every living thing in a massive area that contained around 1,300 planetary systems. This would make it one of the most powerful psychic entities we have ever witnessed within the physical universe.
Really?
What sinister purpose it had for dominating the minds
More
of the
powerful than, like,
untold
Zinj?
billions of these worlds is currently unknown. But its reign of domination would inevitably come to an end when it was slain by the Black Templars in the 34th millennium. Its vengeance would come in the form of an immense
So much
psychic
for that.
backlash, an alien scream that reverberated through the warp, growing in power with every subsequent echo. This creature's psychic death scream was so powerful that it managed to burn out the minds of 1 billion astropaths within its blast radius.
Jesus.
And not to mention distort the signal of the Astronomicon itself all the way back on Terra.
Jeez.
Millions upon millions of ships were lost in the resulting chaos, and it was said that entire subsectors were completely taken over by rampant barbarism as their societies descended into madness without the wisdom
So
of the
that has to
Adeptus
be like,
Terra
that
to
must have
guide
been
them.
like one
In my
hell of a
research, I've
psyker.
only been able to find a
More
handful
powerful
of
than
mentions of this
Zinj,
event.
even probably, yeah,
The
maybe
first
the
coming from
Emperor.
the 5th edition 40K rulebook, and the second coming from the 8th edition Space Marines Codex. Other than that, we're really not given a lot more insight into it. What exactly was this thing? Was it a one-off creation, a freak abnormality, or a harbinger of a viciously powerful yet undocumented Xenos species? The idea that there could be more of
Those
these things
actually
out
look
there
really
is
cool
truly
looking.
terrifying to think of. The legend of the Cacodominus does live on through the Black Templars, as they kept its skull as a relic. And if you're a player of the Warhammer
Oh.
40K
So that's its skull? Very interesting. So it's got some sort of like third eye thing going on. I don't know if those things attached to the side are, you know, was part of it, or they added it on. Interesting. Yeah, definitely some sort of alien thing.
tabletop game, you can actually take this relic on one of your Black Templar characters. It confers a
Oh,
stacking
wow.
negative aura to psychic tests, and makes enemy psychers far more likely to suffer perils of the warp, which I thought was pretty neat. Hopefully this is a plotline that Games Workshop decides to revisit sometime in the future. Number 3. The Disappearance of Fornax Aleph. Fornax Aleph was the site of one of the most unnerving and inexplicable episodes within the Sabbat World's crusade. The Hive World had been determined to be an enemy bastion, one that had a significant fleet reserve and would put up an enormous fight. 9 regiments of the Imperial Guard were set to invade the planet, and it was planned that they would be reinforced by the Iron Snake Space Marine chapter. However, the assault
Okay.
ended up getting delayed twice because of aggressive warp storm activity in the area.
Oh, okay.
These warp storms were so bad that the Iron Snake's battle barges were forced into a 4-month holding pattern. General
Damn.
Elbeth, serving under War Master Slato, was set to command the Imperial Guard units, but his fleets ended up getting scattered by the warp storms, and when he arrived to the planet, he did so with only a third of his complement. To make matters
Jeez.
worse, there was no sign of the Iron Snakes that were supposed to be there to support them. Now, Elbeth was a very cautious man, and decided to abort the assault run. The forces he had under his control were certainly nothing to scoff at, but they wouldn't be enough to take an entire hive world single-handedly. He moved his fleets to the outer system, and decided to hold there until reinforcements arrived. That being said, he didn't want to waste this opportunity, so he directed a rapid pursuit frigate, the Ziegler, to undertake an intruder pass through the inner system. This would be done to assess the enemy's strengths and disposition. However,
Makes
to
sense.
the general's complete bafflement, the Ziegler encountered 0 resistance, and no orbital batteries fired on it, and no ships were launched to engage. The Ziegler even reported that all of the orbital yards were entirely empty of ships, both military and civilian. Most peculiar of all, they detected no electromagnetic activity anywhere on the planet. No Vox substrate, no power industry, no motion of any kind. The great hives of Fornax Aleph appeared to be empty and dead. General Elbeth believed that maybe the population had retreated to the countryside, so over the next several weeks he would deploy many more cruisers to scout out different parts of the planet.
Interesting.
All of them, however, came up empty. There was no life that could be detected anywhere on the planet. Elbeth decided to launch a spearhead force instead of waiting for reinforcements, deploying 2 full regiments of heavy infantry, the 34th and 52nd Fighting Felids. He would also deploy the Vitrian 10th Armored Brigade, which totaled to about 16,000 men and women and 800 fighting vehicles.
Damn.
Much like what happened with the Rapid Pursuit frigates, they met no resistance. The world was entirely devoid of life. It was as if the vast population had suddenly vanished in an instant. There were half-eaten meals on hab tables, unfinished games of regicide in the street parlors. There wasn't even power, but that was admittedly easily restored, showing no indication of sabotage. If the planet had been evacuated, there would surely be unmistakable evidence of this.
Right.
If a great plague had taken the population, there would be bodies everywhere. There were, however, no corpses to be found, no burial pits, or any sign of struggle or disaster. The entire population had disappeared without explanation.
Kind of get like Atlantis vibes, or maybe they got somehow taken to an alternate dimension. You know, they said there was severe warp storms. Maybe something like that happened, you know? The entire population is just in a complete alternate dimension, or I don't know about the white snakes and, you know, the guard, if they're still around, or maybe they got swapped to an alternate dimension, you know, that the actual planet is still there and fighting and stuff like that, but, you know, the white snakes and the guards went to an alternate dimension where that planet is gone. Kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy.
Leaving behind an eerie, vacant world. Unfortunately, the only thing we really have to go on is the transcribed reports that Elbeth gave back to War Master Slato. And those reports indicate that him and the men under his control were incredibly unnerved. Despite the uneasiness they felt, they ended up fortifying their position to wait for reinforcements. The men were getting more and more nervous each and every day, and during the night, they would report the sound of bone-chilling screams of anguish echoing throughout the hive. Despite search efforts, the source of the screaming was never located. On the first day of 758 M41, all transmissions from Elbeth's Liberation Force abruptly ceased. It would be 80 more days after this when the Iron Snakes, who had been delayed by the warp storms, would finally arrive as reinforcements. 300 of them immediately made planetfall and made their way to Elbeth's last recorded position. It was said that the Iron Snakes were a very serious chapter that were not easily disturbed, but their initial contact back to the War Master Slato lacked their characteristic demeanor. They seemed to be at a loss for words, their report only saying that there was no one here. There was no evidence that Elbeth and his forces had ever been there. If they had fortified a position, it could not be located. Whatever happened to the planet's population,
yeah, there's got to be some sort of like
and the men and women under his command
alternate dimension or something like that on the planet.
Would spend the next month scouring every single inch of the world for clues to what had happened. For the most part, their search came up disappointingly empty, with one exception. Impossibly, a single Lehman Russ battle tank was discovered 80 stories up on the roof of a hab stack. All of the Vox headsets inside were missing, except for the last 30 centimeters of their cords that had been plugged into the outlets. The cords themselves had been severed and somehow fused at a molecular level. The only human remains that were discovered was a single gauntlet, in which a calcified human hand was found still gripping the gearbox lever within the tank. No formal explanation of what happened on this world was ever established, and years later the planet would be repopulated. Now thankfully since then there have been no mysterious mass disappearances or anything like that. But to this day,
we know of,
the population has continued to report unexplained screams in the dead of night. Number
that
2,
one's really
the
freaky.
Labyrinth of Thanotap.
That one's kind of creepy.
The Labyrinth of Thanotap is a tesseract labyrinth the size of an entire planet. Now, this infinite prison trammels in being so terrible that not even the Necrons dare to enslave them for war. What I just read to you is literally all the information on the labyrinth that exists. It was only ever mentioned briefly within the 9th edition Necron Codex, and then subsequently, never even so much as referenced again. So our imaginations are kind of allowed to run wild with this one. I just want to put it into perspective. Out of all of the terrifying things contained within the labyrinth, the Necrons have deemed them too dangerous to be enslaved for war. This is a faction that literally did just that to their gods, turning against the Catan, shattering them into dozens of fragments, and then subsequently enslaving those fragments and throwing them out on the battlefield like Pokemon. The only difference between the Catan shards and Pokemon is the Catan have the devastating power to completely sunder reality. Yet, whatever lurks within the depths of the labyrinth has these god killers spooked out of their robot minds.
Jeez.
The idea that there could be entities out there far older than the Catan, which are said to be as old as the universe itself, and vastly more powerful than them or even the Chaos Gods, is not that unheard of. As in the novel Godblight, there's an instance where an Eldari Farseer is talking of the Catan. He calls them the gods of the Materium, and that there are other, more ancient and even more terrible things out there. Whatever the Eldar was referring to may very well be what the Necrons have contained within the labyrinth, but that's just me speculating. We really don't have a lot to go on.
That's kind of
yet.
crazy that
With
they
a lot
wouldn't
of the
even use
40K
those for
mysteries
war.
that exist, we're able to piece together little bits of information from across decades of contributions to the lore. Now, whether they take the form of full-fledged novels, campaign books, codexes, white dwarfs, or even the various video games and audio dramas that have been released. By piecing all this together, we can slowly work our way towards an answer. A lot of the time, however, something will be mentioned briefly and then not acknowledged again by the authors for years or perhaps even decades, until they decide they're ready to expand upon it. In a little bit more of a meta-contextual analysis of 40K literature, I think that's what we're seeing with the Labyrinth. Since its first mention was only a few years ago, I feel like it's something that's being set up for a future expansion, but only time will tell if Games Workshop wants to give us any more information on this admittedly cool and spooky place.
That would be awesome.
Number 1. The Halo devices. The Milky Way galaxy is impossibly ancient, and from the time of its inception, countless different civilizations have risen and fallen. Most of the species that saw themselves as the would-be inheritors of all of creation ended up falling short and were confined to the halls of extinction. Their great empires succumbing to entropy, every piece of evidence that they had ever even existed eventually crumbling to dust. For some species, however, their great work endured long after the echoes of their existence returned to nothingness. Sometimes these took the form of ancient alien ruins that denied the passage of time and stood defiantly for millions of years. And most of them serve as a superficial reminder that nothing lasts forever, whereas others seem to have been designed with a synthetic malevolence. Perilous devices of inhuman knowledge and unknown purpose that concede corruption, twist the soul, befoul the mind, and profane the sacred human form.
That is actually very creepy.
Is what is known by the rogue traders and the Inquisition as the Halo devices. Incredibly dangerous constructs of unknown alien origin that have been long forbidden to mankind. Despite the terrifying and dark nature of these constructs, many would still seek them out for the false gifts they promise. It doesn't matter what terrifying price they demand, as they offer something that all of humanity has craved since we first crawled our way out of the primordial ooze: immortality. The Halo device gets its name from the region of space known as the Halo stars where they were first discovered. They were found on lifeless alien worlds that orbited dead stars, some resembling smooth talismans, while others are orbs filled with an unknown fluid. There was even one reported case of a Halo device that resembled a living worm-like creature. All of them are glossy and smooth to the touch, and defy analysis by Auspex scanners. They are impervious to harm, and despite their impossible age, show no evidence that time has any effect on them. It's generally agreed upon that the worlds in which the devices were found were once part of a great
Is that what was at the end of
but as they left nothing but the
Astartes
devices behind, we really don't know much about them, and perhaps never will.
Or was that something different?
When one of these devices bonds with a human, it will increase their strength, knowledge, and reaction time exponentially. They will be granted youth, vigor, and undying power. But what makes them so horrifying is that this all comes at a terrifying cost. You see, the device will end up possessing their body and mind, twisting their thoughts towards strange, deranged thirst. Over time, their life becomes not their own, being completely dominated by the device, like a sick puppet of flesh. Whether or not the disturbing effects the Halo devices seem to have on human beings was by design or simply a byproduct of them integrating with a biological species they were never designed to, is still unknown. If these morbid effects were intentional, then it would indicate that the creators had an evil, callous
Can't you give it to the
genius
Mechanicus
that
then?
would put even the homunculi of the Dark Eldar to shame. There was one recorded instance of a Halo device being used by the head of a powerful mercantile house. A Lord Inquisitor would deem the heretic so reviled that his name and all accounts of his deeds were to be expunged from Imperial records. When he was discovered, he had become a grotesque fusion of polluted human flesh and Xenos artifacts, the later becoming so much part of him that it was impossible
Kind of
to
looks
tell
like
where one
Abeloth
began
from
and the
Star
other
Wars.
ended. He was said to be possessed of unnatural powers and could not die. Now, we don't know much about what exactly he was capable of, but it was said that his sins were so grievous and disturbing to the Inquisition that they ordered the execution of not just him, but of every living person within his house, and all of the house's vassals as well. They were so afraid of this guy that his execution came in the form of him literally being thrown into the planetary system's sun. The transformation induced by the Halo device becomes more pronounced over time and can be separated into 3 distinct phases. It takes a few weeks for the device to fully bond with its user's flesh, and after that point, there is no way to remove it without killing the host. Their form will rejuvenate to the peak of youth and health. Any physical diseases, deformities, or mutations will be negated, and any part of the body that had been lost, like a severed limb, will miraculously regrow. As their physical body begins to grow more powerful, their mind will start to degrade. At first, they'll realize that they no longer find pleasure in normal sensory stimuli. They lose their sense of smell, and food will begin to taste like ash in their mouth. The host will begin to suffer violent mood swings, and as time progresses, they will find that they no longer require a full night's rest, only a few hours of sleep every couple of weeks, in which they will be haunted by terrifying alien dreams of strange dead cities beneath dark stars. Phase 2 happens after a period of a couple of years, where the device will have fully implemented itself into the host's body, becoming partially absorbed at a cellular level. The point on their body where the device originally made contact will have been healed over by new skin. The initial bonding location will twist with hardening scar tissue, resembling something like a tough exoskeleton of an insect. By this point, the host's muscular and skeletal systems will have twisted in such a way that they are inhumanly fast, strong, and resilient. They no longer sleep at all, eat or drink normal food. But as their mind descends further into the Halo device's synthetic madness, they will begin to develop strange addictions and insatiable hungers.
Can't you give it to the Mechanicus since they don't have skin?
These hungers will have to be regularly indulged, or they will begin to grow increasingly unstable and sickly. These addictions can come in the form of spending long isolated periods in total darkness, or immersion in solar radiation. Their hunger can take a lot of different forms, but most commonly, it comes in the need to feast on human flesh, the drinking of blood and cranial fluids. Their minds will further contort to the point where their memories begin to be replaced with those of things they have never witnessed, such as strange alien civilizations, insights into heretical lore, and unknown languages. There are even some reports that if a person at this phase ends up getting killed, but their body was not completely destroyed at the cellular level, they, over time, will resurrect as they begin to stitch themselves back together. In the few instances this was documented, the individual was driven into full-blown insanity. Phase 3 occurs after a host has been in contact with the device over multiple decades. At this point, there is no longer any separation between the user and the Halo device. They still resemble a humanoid, but their humanity has been completely stripped away. Now, documented individuals that have proceeded to this stage are noted as having a corpse-like flesh, burning eyes, distorted gaunt features, armor-like hides, and even fingers that have fused into long talons of exposed bone. Their strength will have advanced to the point where the host can rip a full-grown man's head clean from their shoulders with barely any effort. A host in Phase 3 is said to be able to survive the void of space and can regenerate from death remarkably quickly. Their mind that had once been bordering the whirlpool of madness has now completely descended into insanity. It is no longer the mind of a singular entity, but an unholy union of deranged intellects. If a rogue trader was so inclined to seek these devices out and sell them under the counter, each one would fetch an absolutely exorbitant price, as the rumors of these devices mostly begin and end with the promise of eternal youth, due to the Inquisition's relentless efforts to cover up their existence. If a would-be buyer does know anything of their more terrifying side effects, they may view this as a price worth paying. However, the trade of these things is not only utterly illegal, but an unforgivable heresy. The Inquisition views the Halo devices as an immediate threat to the Imperial stability, and thus has declared war on them and anyone who has ever even remotely come into contact with the blasphemous alien technology. They constantly scour the Calexis sector for any rogue traders that would attempt to secure them or sell them in underground markets. Anyone found to have come into contact with a Halo device will be eradicated without mercy. As the years go by, more and more of these devices are unearthed, and how many of them are currently out there in circulation is currently unknown. But considering the Inquisition has so far been unsuccessful at containing their plague of madness, it seems like an undeniable conclusion that they will eventually spread throughout the entirety of the Imperium, and the amount of damage they'll be able to do is incalculable. And that was 5 of the creepiest and most obscure 40k mysteries.
That's
Which
insane.
one was your favorite? Which one did you find the spookiest? Is there anything else you found in this franchise that you find super creepy and you'd love to hear me talk about it? Then let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you've been watching my channel for a while, then you know that I genuinely read just about everything y'all post, and one of my favorite things to do is to hang out in the comment section and nerd out about 40k with y'all. If you've made it this far in the video and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then...
Okay, so there we go. There are top 5 creepy unsolved mysteries. Damn, those were messed up. Those were pretty damn creepy. I don't think I could pick one of them. From the Tyrant star, you know, that's kind of freaky. You know, this black void that comes and goes, and people go crazy and stuff like that. The howling, that one's kind of interesting. You know, what the hell was that creature to apparently be that strong of a psyker? Like that. If it was that strong, it had to be way more powerful than Tzeentch and the Emperor. I mean, to do a howl or scream like that, that's kind of crazy. And the fact that the Black Templar still have its skull, so we kind of know what it kind of sort of looked like, is pretty cool. Yeah, the disappearance of this population was totally freaky. Yeah, I don't know. I want to say, like, well, I mean, the planet did get repopulated, and so far as we know, nothing has happened. Yeah, maybe they were just ported to like a different timeline or an alternate dimension, and maybe that's what you're hearing, you know, why people are still hearing the screams, because they're there, but in a different time or something like that. I don't know. That one, yeah, that one there gave me complete chills that, you know, the guard went down, empty, nothing there. They set up fortifications. Then the Space Marines came down, and they were gone. Except what? One tank that was... what did he say? There was one tank or something like that. One Lehman Russ.
Stories up on the roof of a hab empty, with one exception. Impossibly, a single Lehman Russ battle tank was discovered 80 stories up on the roof of a hab stack. All
one tank, 80 stories up on a roof. Yeah, that... I don't know, that's freaky. That's definitely spooky. Yeah, this labyrinth here, that is also very interesting. What the hell is in there that even the Necrons wouldn't even use them for war? Like, what? Like, that's kind of crazy that they wouldn't even use them for war. In a world, universe full of war, it's like there are weapons like, no. So that's kind of crazy. And then last but not least, the Halo devices. That is, that's messed up. I mean, like I was saying, like a lot, like, can you give them to like the Mechanicus? Because it seems like, you know, they fuse with flesh and you know, corrupt. I don't know what that would happen if you gave it to the Mechanicus, since, you know, they're robots. You know, I don't know if it would still try to fuse the same way, even though there is no flesh and anything like that. I don't know if that's like a loophole, because it talked all about, you know, like, oh, it binds with the user's flesh, and then it carapaces over and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know if it could do that, like, to a machine. you know? But yeah, that's kind of crazy how it just slowly works over time, you know, with its corruption, and like decades later you become this creature and stuff like that, and you can't die, and it heals your wounds, and yeah, I don't know. These were all pretty damn creepy. I kind of hope we get answers to like some of these, or if these are just going to remain forever mysteries, you know, like we'll never find out like who are the lost Primarchs and what happened to them, you know. Maybe some of these will get answers someday, you know. I like some answers on like some of these, you know. Like the Tyrant Star and the Labyrinth. That'd be those two would be very cool to maybe get answers one day. I don't know, or it's just one of those that's just gonna always remain unsolved. We'll never know. I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to just kind of wait and see. But yeah, those were very creepy. Yeah, like I said, in the world of 40K, I'm sure there's a lot of mysteries. All right, so anyways, I believe he did another creepy mysteries video recently. I might have to do that one next, because I really enjoy these. I really like the mysteries of 40K, like what is out there that we don't know, you know? Who knows what could be out there, what's in different universes? You know, who knows? But yeah, so there we go. Leave me all your thoughts and comments. What did you guys think about the episode? Which one of these mysteries did you like the most? Which one do you think has a good chance of maybe being answered one day? Yeah, and if there is any other, if anyone else does any 40K mysteries, like I said, I believe he did another mysteries video recently, I believe like a couple of days ago. Like I said, I'll check that one out. But if like anyone else, like Major Kill or any other, if there's like another YouTube channel that also goes into more 40K mysteries, let me know, because like I said, I really enjoy these. I like learning about the mysteries, the unsolved mysteries of 40K. You know, these are very cool. But yeah, leave me all your thoughts and comments, and if you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Join me over on Discord. There should be a link down below in the description box. Come over there, chat, suggest videos. I am more active over there, so yeah, come and join me. And feel free to hit that subscribe button. And other than that, just stick around. More videos are on the way, and I will see you guys next time.